I want to introduce to you an author known as Orwa Banda, and she's authored 2 books, Increase My Faith, Dear God, and Breezes of Life. Now, these books are not just books, but they are books that tell her story. She is a kidney transplant survivor, and this was caused by a condition known as lupus. She is also a cancer survivor. And Jean is our guest on a special podcast. She'll be explaining her journey surviving this and her journey to India. And she's set to go to India again for her last chemotherapy. And Jean is seeking support, that you support her by buying these books or in any other way. So we'll give you contacts on how you can reach her. So in this special podcast, we will also be assisted by Dr. Boniface Onsongo to contextualize this discussion. So sit, relax, and watch this special podcast of Jean Orwa Banda. Karibu sana, Jean, and we'll talk more about these books. So you are, and your journey, you are explaining to us, the challenge began with lupus. Mm-hmm. And lupus is not treatable, you said?
No, so far there's been no cure for lupus. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of research is being carried out worldwide. Many stars have also gotten it and they donate extensively. Mm-hmm. Even Selena Gomez. And I think she also ended up having a kidney transplant at some point because of the lupus. And Michael Jackson, they say he had lupus. Mm-hmm. His was discoid lupus. The rashes, it affected his skin. But for me, it's been systemic lupus, whereby all systems in my body are affected.
When did you discover this challenge?
In the year 2000.
The year 2000?
Yes.
What, you went to hospital, then you are diagnosed with lupus, or how did you discover?
Actually, I used to get very tired, extremely tired, mm-hmm. fatigued, and my feet started swelling. I went to hospital and they did the test. They kept saying I was fine. No, you're okay. No, I think it's because you're working a lot. You're just fatigued. You need to take a break. You need to take a rest. But I was like, no, I know myself. Something is wrong. But of course, nobody listened. No, the blood works are showing that everything is okay. You're fine. Mm-hmm. I knew I was not fine. My body told me it was not fine. It reached a point whereby I could not even get up and make the bed. If I started on this end, mm-hmm. if I went to the other end, I would now go into the bed and rest.
Rest first. Mm-hmm.
If I went to the kitchen to try and make a cup of tea, it was not possible. I would have to sit first. I knew something was wrong. Mm-hmm. It's not fatigue due to working. So at the time, I had 2 jobs. I was lecturing, and I was also with an NGO, Widows and Orphans. So I opted to leave the TSC job and focus on this. The fatigue never went. So one day, I was told my kidneys had collapsed. Of course, it was a shock. In the year 2000, very few people heard of kidney failure or lupus. The few people I knew that had kidney failure had all died. I had 2 cousins who had passed on because of kidney failure. Clearly, I was devastated. And I was feeling like, okay, I would even rather anything else but not kidney failure. Then when I came to Nairobi, because I was working out of Nairobi at the time, one doctor who had been in Russia said, you know what? Check for lupus. Mm-hmm. And we're like, okay, what's lupus? And I was like, I'm tired of the tests. I'm tired of everything. It's still going to be nothing. I'll be told it's me. I'm just imagining. But indeed, they found out that I had systemic lupus. It had affected my kidneys. I was undergoing dialysis. I did dialysis for 6.5 years. It was a rough journey. It was not easy. And even for me, I think compared to other kidney patients, dialysis was really rough because we were all being categorized as kidney patients, but lupus also had its toll on my body.
The kidney failure was caused by lupus?
By lupus. Mm-hmm. Lupus went and attacked my kidneys.
Maybe we should bring Daktari in. So what is lupus?
Alex, lupus in a summary is whereby your system basically starts to attack itself. So it's a chronic systemic disease in which, in this particular scenario, is where there is autoimmunity. That's what we term in medicine. And autoimmunity is where the immunity that you have that is protective at a particular moment starts to cause self-harm to you. And lupus is chronic disease, which means it's something that happens over a duration of time without you noting. You might be having few signs and symptoms there in the early stages, but sometimes it might be too late for us to realize that this was a lupus because it's a chronic disease. Something I will want also to mention, Alex, in that particular definition is that it leads to inflammation. And that is when now, due to that inflammation, it's affecting various organs in the body. And we have various types of lupus. We will not get into those details. But to be specific, when we talk about systemic lupus disease, what my sister had is that the body starts to shut down organs, starts to affect organs because of that inflammation. And the inflammation, remember, is a defense of the body against something harmful. But in this point, there's nothing harming you, but the body is responding as...
Or the body is fighting something that is probably not even that. It's like in your house, you imagine there's a thief and you are fighting the wrong person in the house.
So you carry a gun, you start shooting over a thief who's not there.
Yeah.
Accidentally, you shoot your child. So the body is too defensive in a way, and that autoimmunity.
How common is this, and what causes this? Is it hereditary? Is it what causes this?
Alex, there are many issues that we can discuss about potential risk factors, not direct causes. But in the major risk factors, when we talk about lupus, we talk about hereditary could be one of the potential issue. Then we talk about some environmental issues around the environment. Then we talk about there's also some theories around the hormonal. We'll try to talk about them. That there is a higher risk in particular age when it comes to ladies at particular points in their life because of the hormonal factors. So there are different theories around the risk factors, but we can never isolate a particular cause to somebody and say this is what caused lupus to you.
Now, Jean, so lupus was discovered in the year 2000, then the kidney transplant was in the year 2006. Yes. Take us through how you managed the kidney transplant. Where was it done? How was it?
Okay, yeah. They say the best treatment for kidney failure is a kidney transplant because your life goes back to normal. It took me 6.5 years to get a donor.
You mean 6 years? Ukitafuta donor?
And a half.
Na patikani?
Yeah, it was not possible because the first place you look at is the family. In my family, I have a sister, a brother, and myself. Then, of course, my mom and dad. Obviously, my mom was she was alive at the time. There's no way she would have let me suffer. That I know because she walked the walk with me. And basically, everyone who knows me over those 6 years knew my mom. She was always with me, every time. She was not compatible. She's AB positive. My sister is AB positive. My brother is AB positive. My father was O positive, but he was asthmatic. So he could not give me the kidney. Apart from being asthmatic, he had a heart condition. Because I know my dad had said, if anyone is to give me a kidney, it has to be either him or my mom. Now, they were knocked out. So when you have to step out of the family, it's a different ballgame. Because if I came like, hey, Alex, man, you're my friend. Now I need a kidney. You have to give me one. You know, you'll pause. He's a doctor. It's not even easy for him, despite his background, to give me a kidney. So when you have to step out of the family, it's a challenge. Then again, that awareness is not there. The first thing people think of is, if I give my kidney, I'm going to suffer like she is. Who's going to be on that machine every time for 4 hours? Yeah. Who's going to have this physical change?
You imagine you're not going to be normal.
Yes. Everything changes. No, hey, you know, I love you, but that's your burden. Eh? So it was not easy. And at some point, you find it hard to ask because you feel the answer is definitely going to be no. So you soldier on. And I know it also has an impact on the rest of the family because my son was really young. He was just 6, but one day after I had been discharged from hospital, he said, Mom, I want to give you a kidney. Clearly, a 6-year-old cannot give you. Okay. It has to be 18 and above. Yes. So now everyone was like, if I give her a kidney, hey, no, I can't afford to be like her. What will happen? So the easiest thing I used to tell people is, you know what? It's like 2 eyes. Alex, you have 2 eyes. If today something pierced your eye, are you going to tell me that you cannot see with the other eye? You cannot read you know, you can. And besides, what surprised me is, you know, when you're sick, you try everything. Anywhere when you hear there's medication. So we heard about South Africa. So I was in South Africa for a bit. And one day in the unit where I was, a lady who was 60 decided, no, she's lived her life and kidney patients are really suffering. So she decided she was going to donate clean heart, because by the way, it has to be very clear, selling of organs is illegal. WHO passed that rule, I think, in 1980.
So you have to donate.
You donate, yeah. So she came, she wanted to donate, and when she was taken for tests, you know, a donor has to be so healthy. Every single thing, even if you have something small, you're not going to be allowed to donate. So when she went and did her tests, guess what? She only had one kidney. So do you know you have to?
No.
All these years, she's 60. One kidney. She had 6 children. She's 60 years old. So she was like, you know, it's good they never knew, because she's very sure in the house, her mother would be saying, you people don't let her do that, because you know, she only has one kidney. She cannot do it. She would not have had those 6 children. I mean, how? With one kidney. But what this shows is, even if you have one kidney, you're able to do everything that a person with 2 kidneys can do. My donor, he's very healthy. After the donation, he married, he's got a child, and life is okay. He works. I know of somebody else who donated and he was a mechanic. He does a lot of work. So it's not going to affect you in any way. So I'd encourage those who are able to give. Do not let your brother suffer.
So how did you eventually get help? Yeah.
Long story. I was very, very sick. We had asked people, and there's one particular, he's a distant relative, who had also been asked, and he said no, there's no way he can give me, so that he gets sick. No way. So if he'd see me coming now that we had asked, he would take another route. There's no way we're going to meet. What if I ask him again? What if my sister asks? Understandably, there's that fear. People have not been sensitized enough. So when I was sick, as soon as I left ICU, there were no accesses for me to dialyze. Even my doctor said, you know what, just go to India, see if they can do something. So we left for India. Now my sister met this same guy, and he's like, I haven't seen Jean. Where is she nowadays? My sister said, hey, she's not doing well. She was just discharged from ICU. She's in India. And then he goes like, you know what? I'll give her a kidney. So my sister was like, you know what? Stop joking. It's not a laughing matter anymore. She's really sick. So he said, no, I'm very serious. And, you know, I'm in India, he's here. Tissue typing has to be done. It has to really match. Otherwise, the body is going to reject that organ. So he said, no. Can they test him? They were like, hey, you know, she's there. The blood group we had always been looking for is B positive. And I came to realize it's not a very common blood group. O positive is much more common. You agree as a doctor?
Yes.
Yeah, monsters. But also when I appealed for blood at some point, many Asians are B positive. So the people who gave me blood were mainly from the Asian community. They were B positive.
Was there a moment of anxiety? You're still waiting for kidney? What was going on?
Of course. Yeah, like, hey, will I live to see the next year? Ooh, and when I'm sick, will I be able to see next month? And what life will my child have if I'm not there? And for how long am I here? I was anxious. Every time I was sick, I wasn't sure if I would pull through. It's there. And the financial burden. Yes, the financial burden. Will we be able to afford this treatment over and over? So we were talking about the donor, then we'll get into that window thing. So he came to, the only thing he did here was his blood group, B positive. We had looked. We were so glad at least he's B positive.
Yeah.
So the family organized for him to come to India. When he came, as we were waiting, I would even just sit after my treatments, and one day outside the windows I see these monkeys outside and I'm like, hey, you know what, if these monkeys could just march, is it possible to grab one? God, why? And I know at one point I'd even asked a nurse, actually when I was in South Africa, like, can we get from monkeys? And she said, no, it's not possible. The DNA is so totally different. In fact, pigs are closer to us. Yeah,
Than
there's more
monkeys.
hope to get from a pig.
You wanted a kidney, and for you, your hope was hinging on anything, including that monkey.
That monkey, and I'm like, God, why didn't you just allow the monkeys to have our DNA so that I can take this monkey and by now I'll be out of here, you know, and all that. But I guess God in his own wisdom knew we would really take it from them. So anyway, my donor came and they did the tissue typing, and that's the first miracle I saw. Imagine, the tissue typing was perfect.
It matched.
It matched. The first person we brought.
That's great.
The first person. It
That's
matched.
a miracle.
Yes. And they immediately had to slot me in for the transplant because I was deteriorating. I was really deteriorating very fast. We did the transplant. Everything went well. And you know the way it takes time for the kidney function to become normal? Do you know by the next morning mine was okay? Which to me, and even to the doctors, was a miracle. It was normal.
So for you, we are talking about kidney failure. We have 2 kidneys. So was it only one that failed or 2? Why was there a problem?
Both.
Was it both because of lupus?
Yes, yes. If it had attacked just one kidney, I would survive. I would not even know. Like the lady I told you about earlier, like my donor. My donor survives on one kidney. The lady who had 6 children and wanted to donate only had one kidney. So you see, she could not donate that one kidney. Yeah? So if your kidney is even at 50%, it will carry you through. It will do everything.
It may contextualize that.
So in this point, I'm looking at it from this scenario. By the time she's going to India, getting out of Kenya from an ICU probability of admission, what she has said, it meant that the kidneys were failing, both of them.
They had already failed.
Yeah, so
I was on dialysis.
she could not survive on the 2 kidneys because none was working. If she had
and how
one,
long can one survive on that? So if both kidneys have failed, can I live on dialysis, and for how long?
the challenge with dialysis on now systemic lupus disease is that this is progressive. And already at the point of transplant, there is no shortcut of us trying to do dialysis because it means that the condition will be worsening and worsening and worsening. Remember, by the time she's in India, what I'm getting from her is that she was being advised that we need this transplant because failure to do this, the kidneys are still worsening despite you being on dialysis.
Not
so
worsening. My kidneys were dead.
Were going.
They were dead. So when you're dead, there's no worse.
There's no worse actually.
Yeah, the kidneys were dead.
So it's both
I
kidneys.
needed a kidney. If you're to be called a kidney failure patient, then your kidneys are not working at all. Yeah.
So after transplant, you're okay, you'll no longer be on dialysis?
If now she got the, yes, because you have gotten a good kidney. Now, she has talked about kidney function. Now, medically, Alex, if you come to me right now, I'm able to take your blood, run through some tests, which we call the kidney function tests. An example is a test we call creatinine. So when once a year, each one of us should actually be doing those tests. Why are they important? The body generates some waste products, urea, all these. So when they are circulating in your blood, the kidney behaves as a filtration organ. So it filters, kama kichungi, so that it moves toxins and balances other things. The kidney has so many roles it plays.
Remain there, doctor.
Yes.
So,
yes.
For how we've seen the origin is lupus, the lupus disease. And what are other things that can cause kidney failures? What are our practices that can lead us there?
Away from lupus. So as I contextualize that understanding of the question, look at it from this way. The kidney has those major roles. Detox, filtration. It behaves as a filtration organ. So there are many multiple issues that can affect your kidney. As simple as conditions like somebody who has having a chronic illness, infection, I'm talking about infectious, which is an acute illness. Some derangements of the liver function can occur. But the common causes in terms of what happens common is people have diabetes, people have hypertension. Those are called systemic diseases. It could affect their kidneys. There are kids who are born with renal diseases. So a child is born with a kidney issue. So that means when they are born, when we do a profile of their blood, we do the kidney function test, then we realize that the kidney is not doing the filtration role perfectly. So those are other things that can trigger that. So there are many things out there. So systemic lupus is one of those conditions that can affect your kidney. So bringing it into the conversation, by the time now she was having the kidney failure, it meant that the disease had attacked the two kidneys.
But we hear also poor use of medicine, the normal medicines.
Yes, that is also.
Drugs, hard drugs, drinking.
Yes, alcohol, and it starts from the liver, which is another conversation. Cigarette smoking, alcohol intake, leading to fatty liver disease, and by extension now it can start damaging your end organ, that is the kidney as an organ. So all these are various factors that can affect your kidney. So that is on lifestyle, yes.
That was a miracle, Jean, and your story is healing, or it's fulfilling. And no wonder your title of your book, Breezes of Life, something you can have a new breath of
life.
You said it's not over. This is something you were telling me before we came to this. It's not over until, there's a way you put it.
It's not over until God says it's over.
Yeah.
It's not over. Many times I was written off. When I went to the ICU, I was actually bleeding from every opening on my body, even the ears. I've never, well, it was frightening at the time. Of course, I was unconscious. People who saw me, they said the head was big and round. The clotting factor had refused. And I know people came, they were told, come and see her before. Many times it has happened, but God has managed to just pull me out of that pit many times. So one thing I've known is I really don't care what people say. I may be so bad today, but until God says it's over, it's not over. I'll bounce back.
And yet, Jean has just shared just a bit of her story. Then came cancer.
Oh, yes. Just when everything was now normal and I was like,
You had come to Kenya?
No, yes, I was in Kenya, now doing my own things here in Kenya. After 2006, I came back to Kenya. That's when we launched the Kenya Kidney and Lupus Foundation with the assistance of Kenya Renal Association. They still have powerful, impactful World Kidney Days because prevention is actually the key. Preventive measures. So they do a lot of wonderful world medical camps, education, all that.
By the way, before even continuing to that other story, you really need to remain there. Jean is a nutritionist.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so combining that knowledge and a situation, I think it also helped you to understand yourself, is it?
So much, although it wasn't
and
easy.
What to eat, what to know, your nutrition.
I was too strict on me. I was too strict on me that I almost became malnourished because, you're supposed to take just a little bit of this, avoid potassium. Bananas are rich in potassium.
Yeah.
So avocados as well. So for me, the way someone might just taste a bit, for those 6.5 years, I did not touch a banana. I did not touch avocado. I would look at them. Yet, before I fell ill, those were my best foods.
So why not banana and avocado?
The potassium is high and the kidney can no longer, it's
Can no
not
longer
functioning.
regulate the-
it can't regulate that balance of potassium. So that made it really hard and I was like, you know what? I'll just keep off.
Nutritionist, what's your other training? What's your professional training?
Okay, for me, I have a bachelor's in nutrition. Then when I got into the NGO world because of work, I realized communication was very important. So I did a postgraduate diploma in education so that I'm able to reach out to the community, communicate well, educate them where need be. And then I realized I had a passion towards community and health. So I did my master's in community health and development.
Wow.
So it's from that knowledge that I was able to do the Kenya Kidney and Lupus Foundation.
And despite these health challenges, you had the presence of mind, you had the passion, you had the ability to still even just study and offer your skills to the society.
Yes.
Many people would give up and it's like, oh my goodness,
it's over,
Do I have the energy?
I know, because when I was doing my master's, I remember someone telling me that, why are you bothering?
Yeah.
Everyone had written me off. Like, so why are you bothering? I don't understand. Why are you going through this? It's rigorous. I had no answer. I always have an answer, but I had no answer.
Your story teaches us a lot of things, that you can still do something even when you are going through very difficult circumstances, And so you are an educator, nutritionist. You also you have some knowledge of you said what health work. There's something you told me.
Community health.
Community health,
Yes.
great. Then an author. So, and I want to keep encouraging our viewers to look out for these books, Breezes of Life and Increase My Faith. You can come through us, contact Champs Media to eat this, and it's pocket friendly that you can read this in just maybe an hour or less, you know, while you are going up country. Maybe you have your driver driving you. It's pocket friendly. You can put here in the pocket, in the plane if you are traveling. Oh, yeah. So reach out to us or directly to Jean, and her email address is where is it?
Orwa@yahoo.com.
Or I can just say it.
Yeah.
Orwa@yahoo.com. Now what were Yahoo ni watene?
Yeah, just be knowing, yeah. I'm from that era, yeah.
Yahoo, my first email was Yahoo in the year 2000.
Yes.
So my age and yours is almost
the same.
Almost the same.
But the way I see it, I'm sure I'm older than you.
So, cancer.
Maybe interesting,
Yes.
Alex, as we get to cancer, I was going through the book, The Breeze of Life, and
And
I'm
how-
happy that at least have been able to get my 2 copies.
I'm
My
glad.
audience can see these.
You want to say how much is this book?
Yeah, you can
Oh
share.
yeah, pocket friendly as usual.
How much?
Each book goes for 1,000.
1,000.
1,000
1,000
each.
each.
And what I know, based on the people who have sent me emails or looked for me, the books are so captivating.
Yeah.
If you start, you'll not stop. Fact.
Yeah.
I can challenge you.
I can relate with it, and I keep telling my colleagues, and remember, I had a challenge. Daktari, you'll come, I'll be your guest maybe one of these days. I was depressed, you know, I'll say why one day. So I went to Frank Jenga. For me, life everything was shattered. When I was walking, it's like I'm not stepping down. The trees were laughing at me, everything. He listened to my story and said, young man, you think you have problems? Your colleague has just walked out here. And I was in media. I could guess who that was. If he shared your story, man, you have no challenge. You are okay. In fact, I'm going to pay for the consultancy fee. Go home, you're okay. You will face bigger challenges in life, and you'll deal with them. This is nothing. You know, you didn't even have to come. So that's
actually the exciting aspect which I was seeing as I was reading through my precious book, and I'm happy that I got my copy. And actually, I'm giving the first viewer a copy of this. So we'll organize that. So I read something interesting, and that's why I'm passionate. I wish each of our listeners will buy a copy, and each of our viewers. I was reading through The Breeze of Life, and particularly there's this part of people are sharing their testimonies. Page 10. Page 10. You can go through page 10.
Just barely an hour ago.
But I quickly went through
10.
that. Yes. Page 10, Susan, the nurse, said, it appears that this condition can affect one's social life, to which Kevin promptly responded, yes, in a way, the illness adversely affects my social and personality. Prior to falling ill, I was very outgoing, but I've since lost my self-esteem and I lack self-confidence. I was looking at these experiences you have written in these books, and something came to my mind, that actually people who are going through some illness need to learn about these experiences.
Yes.
That in life will never be smooth.
And not just illness.
Yes.
Mine was not illness.
Yeah, it's actually business related. And I remembered, and this has reminded me something as Alex, you switched to our new face of the knee. When my mother was sick, nobody had a chance to give my father a resource of how you should take care of somebody who's unwell. I remember, unfortunately, that is how he ended up becoming hypertensive. And he has lived with the hypertension from the year 2007. But of course, diabetes came earlier there. So why I'm encouraging, again, I'm emphasizing as Alex, we proceed, these books, they give hope to those who are well and even to those who are unwell. And so that
for her is health, but maybe I may be veering off, but we all go through challenges. You've lost a job. It is probably not the end of the road. You know, landlord has chased you out of your house. You are moving out with your wife and kid. It's not the end of the road.
It's not the end of the road.
There are people who have faced worse challenges.
You don't have children. It's not the end of the
world.
Lose your job.
Many jobs, you know, or you planted 10 acres of wheat and the rains didn't come and you have loans and you have to pay loans and the wheat didn't It's not the end of the
In
road.
fact, it's a new beginning.
It's a new beginning.
A new era.
Yeah.
And actually, by somebody getting that motivation, they bounce back.
Yeah.
So that cost is very negligible. For me, I think each one of us, including our cast members here, should get a copy by the end of this month. Good.
Hawaonekani kwa set, but wako 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So viewers, kuna watu sita hapa. They are making this happen. So cancer.
Yeah,
You're not
so
scary,
everything was
eh?
fine. Nothing could go wrong. The worst had happened. I mean, how can anything else go wrong? My health is restored. I'm back to normal. I can eat. You know, kidney failure really restricts you. Even water. You cannot drink water the way a normal person drinks. It's hot, you're sweating, but you can't. Why? Because you're unable to urinate. You cannot. So if you take this water, where is it going to go? It will swell. You'll get something called pulmonary edema. You'll suffocate. You can't even lie down properly. The water, you know. So you're so scared of even drinking water. In a day, there's a certain amount. Remember, you're taking medicine. Because I do take medicine. I had my medicine here with me.
You work with medicine?
I have to, because I keep taking medicine, and I shouldn't forget.
Yeah.
This is my life. When you're traveling, the first thing you think of are your clothes. For me, it's the medicine. If I don't have the medicine, we are going back. This is it for me. I live on that.
With the proper timing. Ukisahau nini?
Yeah. There was a time I used to even have an alarm. It had to keep ringing at that point in time. But somehow, we adjust. You get to know. You just feel funny, you know. I have to. Even forgetting is really hard, because from 2000 to now, it's almost 25 years for me.
You're conditioned.
Yeah, since I've had all these things. Remember, lupus is incurable. Kidney, at least the transplant was there. Then cancer came on board. And it was like, no, who, me, how? Me.
Scary.
Hey? Even my cousin told me, like, no, it's not possible. After all those things, no.
Someone will say, my cast.
Hey, how? Kwani? Hey. So when am I going to enjoy?
But, I believe first was denial.
No, the pain I felt, I told my husband, this is cancer. My stomach it was a pain I had never experienced. And I told him, you know what? Whenever I have had people scream with this kind of pain, writhe with this kind, it has been cancer. I just thought it was. So the doctor said I have to go for emergency surgery. We were out of Nairobi. We had to take the next flight back. First of all, getting the flight was hard. You know, your arm's sick.
The flight back to where?
To Nairobi. We were out of Nairobi.
We
had gone, it was harvest season. Yes.
Kenya.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was harvesting season. We'd gone to Western Kenya. We had to leave everything. And this thing just came abruptly, because even the day before, I had gone to the bank to get money to pay the workers, do ABC. But that night, it was a fire. It was a fire. So we had to come. Getting onto the flight was an issue. You know the way it is. They're afraid of carrying a sick person. Anyway, I came straight onto theater. Half of my intestine has been removed because that was affected. Then
half
of my intestine, yes.
Removed?
Yeah. The tumor, because it had the cancerous tumor. Then they did the biopsy, the tests, and then I was told it was stage 4. Okay, that is when I got a shock. Everything
Stage 4?
Yes.
What is stage 4? And this is what? Blood cancer?
Yes, and
Non-Hodgkin's
non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
lymphoma.
I was told it's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
So, stage 1, 2, 3, 4.
Number one, Alex, it's very important first we try to understand what cancer is. So cancer is actually, I don't know the typical example, whether the video will allow me to stand, so that it's important for us to understand what cancer is. You have 2 cells, and will you
want to demonstrate with me?
Yes.
Okay.
Good. So Alex, they are good.
Yeah.
So when we talk about cancer, as we dwell into talking about the stages, number one, when we are born, as we grow, we have cells. Cells is the smallest part of you, Alex, that makes you a human being. So a cell is the smallest thing in you. So any organ in your body, be it the heart, the breast, the stomach, the colon, all parts of your body, inside them, there's like a small part called a cell.
Okay.
cancer starts in that smallest part called a cell, which you cannot see.
Mm.
So in a simple summary, this is what cancer is. So in a normal cell, as you are standing like this, your cell is a normal shape as a human, as a person. So when the cell gets older and time goes, the cell normally dies. So your body, using a mechanism, kills that cell because it has finished its time. It removes that cell outside. You bring a new cell. So the reason why we keep growing, Alex, as we live, is because old cells have been cleared. The new cells have come in. Yeah. Old cells go out, new cells come in. Cancer of any part of your body, including your blood, is where your cell is no longer normal shape. Now let me demonstrate. You can do like this. I normally good. So it was a normal shape, but it's no longer normal. So it means the shape cannot be recognized by the body. So when this cell gets old and supposed to die, the body comes to kill it using a mechanism which I'm not going to talk called natural killer cell, but it's not unable to kill it. So what happens, Alex? It keeps on growing, but new cells will come because this cell is not helpful. So cancer is when a cell has become abnormal and the body is unable to clear it, so it keeps on growing in your body. So that cell can be in your blood, in your breast.
So this bad cell keeps growing.
Keeps growing.
That's why then you'll hear of colon
cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer.
Breast, the bad cell is there.
Exactly.
If it's head, so it keeps growing.
So how did it become abnormal? It changed the shape. And if I was like this, you can see, for example, I am flat. Then if I'm flat, the body can see me and can kill me when I'm old and worn out. But suddenly, I change my shape. So the body suddenly, when I'm old, cannot see me. So I keep growing. So in simple definition, Alex, as I normally teach people, cancer, the definition of cancer is that it's an abnormal, uncontrolled growth of cells.
Okay, so we continue.
Yes, we can continue.
So
now that brings us to the question of stage 4.
When it was discovered, it was at stage 4. So what's that?
So now, as we have demonstrated what cancer is, it can affect any part of our body. Any part of your body, cancer can strike. Now for her, what she's saying is that she had the blood cancer. And blood cancer, there are several types. Specifically, lymphoma is a type of blood cancer that starts in your lymphatic tissue. Lymphatic tissues are the things that they are part of the immune system. That's why you can realize there's a connection between what she was sharing a story about the inflammation, the lupus, and what came later. Because the immune system, part of the immune system is the lymph nodes. So when the lymph nodes have that cell that becomes abnormal and it continues growing, that's now what you call lymphoma. So there are stages 1 to stage 4. So the earlier stages means it's in the initial stages. But what she said as stage 4 is when we are in the highest stage. We are at stage 3 and 4. They are called the advanced stages for cancer. Stage 1 and 2 is the early stages for cancer. So by the time she was detected at stage 4, it meant that it had gone to where even it's spreading in the body, going to surrounding organs, going to surrounding tissues.
Could it have been detected at an early stage, stage 1?
Very much possible. Very much possible.
And what we learn from that?
Yes. Maybe
the symptoms or the signs were not there. So many patients are likely to be in that situation. You wouldn't know until it's stage 4. What do we learn from here? What do we do?
Many times, Alex, the major reason why we detect cancer in late stage is actually triggered by many aspects. One of them, I can give a simple example. We learned my mother had cancer when it was not even stage 4, Alex. She had already been buried. The sample had been sent to Nairobi from the village in Kitale where we stayed. And the sample in Nairobi was being processed. But remember, she had been sick for 10 years and nobody had suspected to send her blood film to Nairobi for analysis. We were managing anemia, which is blood levels were going low every year. So one of the major reasons is that we have a challenge of maybe lack of quality healthcare out there or getting the right personnel. And that makes some people to be having maybe symptoms, but the doctors are not able to pick them early enough.
Accessible to healthcare.
And maybe diagnostic equipment, lack of adequate resources, information. both from the provider level and the community level. So those are some of the reasons why cancer detection sometimes is delayed.
Maybe I may be a lay person in this, but I would guess maybe also awareness. What I'm learning is we should be going to do checks, do tests, not because you are feeling a pain, but regular checks even when you are well.
Very important, Alex, because you see most of these things, as we are saying, not only on cancer, but most of the chronic diseases, they don't start suddenly. There's normally a point where, for example, cervical cancer takes 13 years for a lady who is exposed to HPV virus, for example, for them to start seeing cervical changes that can be cancerous. So that duration of time makes us now to understand the power of getting through regular screening and having the right, of course, technology in facilities. That is important.
So back to Jean. So then when it was discovered, how are you coping with it? What treatment did you go through, and how is it now? Still stage 4?
Okay, so stage 4. First, there was a misdiagnosis. I was told I have Burkitt's lymphoma. So I sent my reports and my tests to my doctor in India, because remember I did my transplant in India. I have lupus, so with these multiple things, it would have been good for them to do everything under one roof, because you see I was already scared of the kidney thing, because you all know chemotherapy can also affect the kidney. So all these things, now the fears came back, the anxiety you were talking about. So I was like, okay, let him look at. He said, no, there's no way this is going to be Burkitt's lymphoma. I said, no, it is, because we're told. So I looked at the cost of treatment here and the cost of treatment in India. Clearly, it was so much cheaper there. Then number 2, there was the issue of diagnosis.
Yeah.
So I asked the team here that, is it? Okay, there was a lot of controversy, but I went mainly because, you see, my initial treatment, a major surgery, had been done there. So I went to India. They did the tests again, and they told me, you see, we were sure it was not Burkitt's lymphoma, it is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And we're starting on treatment. Immediately, the treatment protocol is totally different.
Yeah.
So you know what I always tell myself? Okay, what if I had gone for the other treatment and I was already too weak?
Yeah.
Would I have made it? And even if I didn't make it, you people would say, okay, she was so weak, and anyway, we know cancer stage 4, But by God's grace, I was able to get the proper diagnosis. So we did the thing. The treatment was harsh. My body couldn't take it at some point. So I did not even finish the first protocol because it was too much for me. And the doctor also felt like no. And then he told me, you know what we're going to do? We'll pray to our gods. You go and pray to your God. Yeah, I believe in God. I have a God. He sustained me from the kidney time, lupus, which is incurable, up to now, what can be impossible. Even resources. I was not panicking. God is able.
Yeah.
He will do it. And again, prayer. And I know many people prayed for me. I believe in the power of prayers. And when I went for my PET scan after the 3 sessions, I was to do 6, they were not detecting cancer cells. They couldn't. It was not there. So the doctor said, now I'll be on a treatment that's not so rigorous, not so harsh, but I must do it. I said, okay. So we did the treatment. And it worked. And so from stage 4, I must say, by God's grace, no cancer cells have been detected, but I was told I must finish the full course. It takes 2 years. I'm yet to finish. I was diagnosed in 2023. Okay. I'll finish next year, in February, God willing. I'll not say there are no ups and downs. There are ups and downs. It's not easy. It's not easy. But it's not hard.
So, I was almost getting subdued, and then I'm feeling so nice that you survived and there are no cancer cells in your body. Wow.
Yeah.
But you're still undergoing chemotherapy?
I still am undergoing chemotherapy.
Because you have to finish?
I have to finish. I was doing it every 3 weeks. I actually had to reside in India But now it was spaced out to every 3 months, which also gives me a break. And it makes me feel better.
And the medicines you have for what? Is
Oh,
it lupus,
multiple
cancer,
things.
kidney?
Yeah, cancer, the drug is in my system. They give it to me intravenously. There are some supplements which I have to take for the cancer, which was given by my doctor. The kidney transplant, I'm on that medication for life. I cannot stop. In the process, I developed hyperthyroidism, so hypothyroidism. So I have to take medicine for that. One of the drugs give me uric acid. I have to take something to counter that. So there's several drugs that I have to take.
Cancer is curable.
Cancer is curable and it's manageable. You can say it's manageable.
It's not a sentence to death.
It's not a death sentence.
I mean a death sentence, yeah.
Yes, and actually it reminds me, and allow me, Alex, kindly to read this. I had a friend of mine who wrote this recently from his own experience, and cancer changes everything, your plans, your peace, your body, but it should never take your will to fight. And the last statement he wrote, and God forbid he had lost the wife, and the last statement he wrote, this is a week later, and excited on how they fought the last 10 years happily, he said this: it's not a death sentence, but a call to courage. You can fill years with life, even when it looks bleak.
Wow.
Now, medically, many people out there, and that's why some of them come late. They think that if I go to Nsongo, then I know I have cancer, I will die. So they say, better I stay with my issue at the breast, and I don't know where I have that issue. So cancer is manageable, and this is what I will say. Most cancers, if we learn them early, with the right treatment, with the right chemo, the right drugs, the right surgeries, if it's surgically operable cancers like the breast cancer, somebody can actually survive a cancer-free life thereafter.
What's the number one largest cause of cancer? Generally, whether men or women, top
In terms of
causes.
I can say that's a tricky question. I have to take you back to something interesting to understand what causes cancer. Cancer number one is a genetic disease, Alex. So it means the genes in the cell that I demonstrated must change.
Okay.
So it's a genetic disease. The genetic disease have two origins. They might be inherited from parents or acquired due to environmental exposures during your lifetime.
Like?
Now, those are the ones I will maybe mention. So when you talk about the genetic exposure in cancer origin, the genetic exposure could be now inheriting some genes that put you at a risk. A typical example to demonstrate is breast cancer. 5 to 10% of women, according to the World Health Organization, who have breast cancer, they had a genetic history. But that tells you what the 90% of people with breast cancer who don't have a genetic history. Now we come to the second cause of cancer, which is environmental exposures. Environmental exposures, Alex, is where there could be things that happen in our environment that not all of us, but some people, they put them into changing their genes. Remember, cancer starts in your cell. So you are born with normal cells, Alex, for 90 years, 80 years. Then at a time in your life, some of the genes in your prostate starts to change due to some environmental exposures. And I know that is the question now. What are these major reasons why some environmental things that can change the genes? So we normally talk about carcinogenic agents. We have the chemical exposures, radiations, issues of ionizing radiations. We have issues of, recently the ministry even mentioned that we have diet becoming a potential factor.
Is smoking one of them?
Smoking is actually the single largest cause of preventable cancer in the world, Alex. Actually, it's listed that is the single largest cause of preventable cancers. It means in most cancers that you can prevent, smoking is associated with the top leading cause.
Okay.
Of course, now alcohol is one of them also. It's associated to be a risk.
Alcohol.
Now, when I'm talking about risk, remember, it doesn't mean everybody who smokes will have cancer. It means it's a possible risk that can change the genes. And when the genes have changed, they can initiate the cell to start becoming abnormal, and which can initiate the cancer process.
Yeah, we live in fear where we even say the microwaves, if you don't cover the food properly.
There are also myths. There are also myths and misconceptions. For example, a lot of myths I've seen out there in social media is the concept of plastic bottles that we drink water with. Alex, I want to be very categorical here that the bottles that are used to pack food, specifically, let's say water bottles, actually are coded. Actually, if you look at those bottles, there is a color coding and a number. If I could demonstrate, maybe in another episode we'll see that. So these cords indicate that it's safe for carrying that water. The problem is if you use it in a wrong use, that it was not meant to. For example, you take a plastic bottle, you take to a microwave, it's not causing cancer, but let me tell you what happens. Plastics, when you burn them in a high temperatures, they release what we call microplastics, and there are several microplastics. They are not directly causing cancer, but they can start the process of gene.
So are you telling me we do warming food in microwaves with plastic? So
you should not use a plastic, Alex.
Yeah, iko shida hapo.
And as I said, it doesn't cause cancer, but as I said, it releases microplastics.
The process,
Another issue to remind, for example, diet. There's a lot of rumors about diet versus cancer. But what is scientifically proven, World Health Organization again, according to as a risk factor for cancer, is why we say diet, cancer cells, proven by a doctor actually in the 1940s there, proved and won a Nobel Prize by proving that cancer cells are less likely to thrive in an alkaline environment. Now, there are foods, Alex, you eat even in offices that are acidic. So, for example, you know very well that when you take too much of red meat, it's acidic. That is common knowledge out there. So people consume meat every time. It doesn't mean they will have cancer, but because the body is being too much acidic body is inflammatory, Alex. And when your body is inflammatory, it means in case the other reasons, the genes have started to change. Let's say you have been exposed to a virus called HPV as a lady, or a prostate is big as a man because of age, then cancer process can be initiated. The other risk, maybe before I forget, is age, Alex. There are also cancers that come with age, because as we advance in age, there are also potential genetic changes that can occur in our cells, so it can put you at a risk. There's another one maybe I can throw in. I know there are many, but I just want to throw the common ones. Hormonal effects. There are also cancers that we say there's an hormonal effect, like breast cancer. There's a hormonal influence when it comes to breast cancer. It's more common at a particular time of a lady's lifespan because of the estrogen as a hormone, effect of the hormone. This is the last one. Recently, we also mentioned that there are obesity-related cancers. Again, remember, having BMI or overweight is not a cause of cancer, but there are cancers that are called obesity-related, that people are overweight are at higher risk, 1.5 times higher risk than people are not overweight. Example of those cancers are, of course, listed there. Is the issues of colon is there, breast is among them, prostate is among them. We call them obesity-related cancers. So what in a nutshell we are saying, there is no one thing that we can associate to cancer, but there are major risk factors. But one thing that is clear, that cancer has an origin. It's the genes that have changed in a cell, can be inherited from parents or acquired in your lifetime due to environmental exposures.
You're talking about environmental exposure. Many of us are using microwaves now in offices, home, and so on. So here you need to cover the food before you warm it in the microwave. Is that the case? Or
and using the right container.
So, and that's another question for another day. Maybe you'll come with the right container and demonstrate.
We'll demonstrate. Actually, I have several
if it's a plate, the right plate, we leave it there. We'll come to that. So then the good news, as we said, that's why we are calling you a cancer survivor, Jean. So as we wind up, then what's your encouragement? What do you want to tell our viewers? You still have lupus, which is a lifetime, but you are managing your kidney transplant, but there are medicines you have to still keep taking. But cancer came, and it's no longer there. You discovered at stage 4. What's your encouragement to our viewers?
I would say never say die. Nothing is impossible with God. If you have faith in God, you place all your hope in God, even the fears, the anxieties you were talking about, Alex, somehow they tend to just fade off. It's a tough journey, but life is never a straight line. Never give up. It gets to a point where only God can hold your hand. When you're in that pain, nobody can share it with you. Only God. Your father may want to take part of that pain, but it's not going to be possible. So I would encourage people to at least have some faith, believe in God. The book Increase My Faith, Dear God, actually dwells on that. And God does come through. God's hand is visible if you seek it. The other thing is compliance. Because you're not just going to pray and say, I'm not going to take that medicine. It's too much. It's bitter. I hate the way I feel after taking it. No. Comply to what the doctors say. Take your doctor's visits very seriously. My doctors here in Kenya are very good, very committed. They're just a phone call away because they know I'm chronic. And I know it's the same for all their other patients. And whatever they tell me, when they say, double the dose, I will double it. Don't take that drug. Although I feel like maybe I'll not be fine, I will stop. Just comply. Eat right. It's so important. Food is also a form of medicine. Try your best to eat. Eat right. And even for those who are healthy, there are basics that they need to do. Low salt, low sugar, low fat, a little bit of exercise. Just walk. You don't have to run a marathon.
I'm moderating taking sugar.
Exactly.
I take tea without sugar. I don't take many of these drinks, the sodas.
You don't take sodas, but you take alcohol. Huh?
Yeah, moderately. Once in a while.
Wine is good for the heart.
It's good for the heart. I take some wine. Sinaambiwa for digestion.
Red wine. Hopefully red.
I will come to that.
Hiyo ndio ile uji yangu.
Ile uji ya wazee. We will come to that. Ile uji ya unye.
Yeah. So food, water, prayer, compliance, listening to your doctors. You can't do it on your own. But above all, that social support is very important. And I thank God I've had the social support. It is so important, and it will keep you going. And life continues. It's not a straight line for everybody.
You've given us your journey, but for some may say, then I need a counselor, I need what is it called? I need a physiotherapist. I know all those. Are those important that while you are going through that, you need someone to be with you as a counselor to help you go through it, or you can manage or just going through your medication?
You know, each situation is different. Each person is different. In my case, I never needed a counselor, but I guess it's because of the social support that I had. My auntie has been very instrumental.
And also I think resilience.
And my faith in God, reading that Bible, listening to the word, the songs. I love Don Moen. His songs are so encouraging, so spiritual. You know, so just having God as the core of my life.
And the will to live.
Oh, the will to live.
Yes.
It has to be there.
Okay.
Until God says it's over. Because one thing I know, I told God, I know I have to go at some point, but before I go, I don't want to be afraid. That fear should not be there. I don't want to be anxious. Just prepare me so that when it's time to exit, I just want to come home peacefully. Prepare me. Yeah.
For Daktari now, going through the inquiries, one of the most commonly asked questions, and we'll pick just one because that's the most common one. So it's, she had family support. She was able to go to India. But how can people manage? Some are in desperate situations in villages. You find these situations. There's no relative to support you. There's no medical cover. How can we make health accessible so that it's universal and many people can survive because the health systems are, accessible, affordable? You have those all good terms because not everyone can get the support she got.
Very true, Alex. When you look at it, at the end of the day, from our story, we learn many things. That actually a trip to India changed most of the things. She was able to get the right diagnosis. And slightly we said that if she had been treated of the first diagnosis, which was another type of lymphoma, the outcome was totally different. So the aspect of cost is really a big blocker in the healthcare space. So my view on this will be, I look at it in two ways. Number one is the role of each community member to be proactive in healthcare. And that's why my sister was keen to say that prevention is a very important aspect. So in the first point is, if all of us are aware at society, at community, at family level, in schools, in churches, we preach the gospel of wellness and prevention. People will be proactive so that if I was to get cancer at stage 1, the price for management is a bit lower than if it was to be managed at stage 4. On average, Alex, the cost of cancer treatment is on upwards of 130,000 to 160 for chemo, radio, surgery. That means many Kenyans are left out of the right treatment. So for that particular reason, if we can manage to prevent, number 2, to manage it in the early stage possible, but number 3, intensively and aggressively do what we call lifestyle management, so that we reduce even the dosages of medications for not all diseases, but for diseases that have a lifestyle aspect to them, like the diabetes, hypertension out there. But I want to also mention that we as providers, we have also a chance to be able to bring care into communities at an affordable level. This can be through, yes, I'm employed. I used to work in the county government sometimes before I joined the private sector at Equity FA today. I remember that through doing promotions at villages, at communities, giving people free services. If a person came to my village and educated my mother that your anemia for 10 years might not be just anemia, but it's a chronic blood disease, she could have gone to Kenyatta, we could have done that contribution. But lack of information. So if health workers, we can go to communities, empower government, private partnerships so that we reach to people, support organizations. And I'm happy that I wish she will share a number. I love what she's doing. I've read through the things she's doing in life. If we can support our champions like her, support her financially, even send money to her, because if we can enable her donate these books to the survivors of cancer in Nairobi Hospice, Kenyatta, if we can buy even, let's say, 100 books, and you send her money to print 100 books, she can use those books to mentor other people. That is a health awareness, Alex. So health education is key.
They say prevention is better than
what
cure. We eat, you know, what we do
what
in
we
life
do.
and so on. Yeah.
But the last part I will also mention is now one of the parties. It's also important for those who are able, kindly get a medical insurance.
Medical insurance.
It might not sort all your problems. For example, there are people who have never even taken even a simple cover like NHIF, which is currently the SHA.
Sure.
Please take that cover. It might not solve all your family problems. I agree. But get a private insurance if you are able. Get a cover. Right now, less than 3% of Kenyans are insured privately, which exposes 97%.
Wow.
And sometimes
less than 3%?
Yes. And sometimes it's lack of information, Alex. So what if most Kenyans who can get 5,000, 3,000 can get a medical cover, will avoid getting families to be our insurances. And I normally say painfully, sometimes if you are sick and you are exposed, the family can go down.
People look at it as being expensive. Roughly, a family of maybe 5, 7 per year for insurance could budget how much? Maybe sisi ni wakulima tu.
I've been shocked. There are micro
pieces.
schemes.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for insurances out there, but there are micro schemes even upwards of 10,000
per year
to up to about 25,000.
per year.
If you are covered as a principal member, then it means your wife and 5 kids are covered. But if you need premium one, of course you will get them. But at least a simple cover will help you avoid the family going bankrupt when there is disease.
Wow, that's quite informative. You find with waste money, I'm not, forgive me, but you find on average someone may have spent 50,000 shillings in a year on drinking, isn't it? While his family wanakula sukuma wiki, is it? But that could go into insurance. Very well put. And then SHA, I mean, as you said, great. So that's a very good informative ending for Daktari. And as we wind up, again, I'll go back to the book. Get a copy of Increase My Faith, Dear God, in a sentence. What is this book about, Jean?
It's about the hand of God. And sometimes life can be so bad. You're in a pit that you think you're on your own, nothing can happen, nobody. But no, that is when you need to call unto God so that you see his face again. And you can only do this if he increases onto the faith you have.
Wow. Then this one, breezes of life.
Oh, breezes. After all that, you need a breeze, some fresh wind. So this is a book on patience. Any patient, cancer, kidney, heart, liver, they go through issues socially, mentally, psychologically, lifestyle changes, everything. So it is a group of people who meet. They're waiting for a support group to start, and they share. It cuts across all age groups. You'll find sometimes if you're sick, you may never be able to get a spouse. That's an issue. They discuss all these things there. Many women are more affected Men are so lucky, their women accompany them everywhere when they're sick. So you'll find in this book single mothers, the father, and when there's a party, guess who's always left behind? It's the sick person. Yeah. Why are you leaving them at home all the time? Why are you afraid of going with them? So actually it's interesting, and it will encourage the sick. It will also encourage those who live with the sick to realize that yes, you are sick, but life must go on. They must try and make life as normal as possible, the way they would do it for anybody else, and the way they did it for you before, so that you don't feel stigmatized or left out.
That's the name of our podcast, Stable Health. Imedonjo, how's you? Stable Health. So remember, you can get a copy of these books by contacting us. Chams Media will lead you how you can get it, or directly from Jean herself, and her email address is, again, say it yourself, Jean. It keeps disappearing here.
orwajean@yahoo.com.
orwajean@yahoo.
orwajean@yahoo.com.
Each one of them is 1,000 Kenya shillings. So support her. You've seen what Jean has gone through, and that by supporting her, you're also supporting the community. You are supporting many other people, and you'll be healed by reading this book. So that's how we end our show today, our podcast, Stable Health, the first episode. We will give our guest a chance to suggest the next topic. What do you think we should discuss next, Jean?
Probably
that is common.
Look at the challenges the patients go through, especially when it comes to financing healthcare. How have other people survived? How did they get through it? Because it's expensive.
Financing healthcare.
And every sick person has one question in mind: how will I do it? How will I afford it? And this is wide. If we have to look beyond this and look at the big screen, it will involve things like the government, policymakers, the doctors, the insurance you are talking about, the community pool, the harambes we have. So I'm sure many patients who are sick want to know how they will make it to the next day.
Do you agree? Financing?
Yes, financing is an important topic. And what I will say as my parting shot on the same is health is holistic. According to the definition of health, which we use as doctors, health is not absence of disease, but a complete physical, mental, social, spiritual, and recently we are saying financial well-being. So until we sort all those dimensions, somebody is incomplete.
Before we wind up, just one thing.
It is.
I'd like to really let patients know that there are so many scammers out here that take advantage of you because you're vulnerable. Do not believe it when somebody comes and says, I have a cure, my uncle got cured, so-and-so got cured. They'll sell expensive products to you which will not work. So please, please, please be very careful. I have been approached, I have been told, and some of them counter-react with the medicine you're taking. So instead of saving the life that you're trying to save, you'll end up losing it. So be very careful.
Yeah, you may lose lives, and it may be very expensive. Wow, what a show, and what a breather into our lives, as your book says.
What a breeze.
Yeah, what a breeze. Breather and breeze. That was a very informative discussion. Thank you so much, Jean and Dr. Onsongo. Jean has shared her story, and she's still undergoing chemotherapy. So you can support her by buying any of this book or both, or in any other way. You can donate to her. You can send cash to her through the contact given there on the screen. So thank you so much for watching, and we wish Jean all the best.